Yes, well, before beginning with this paper, I just wanted to share a very sad news I just got through email, the death of Micheline Albert, of whom a lot of people who were in previous times in Syriac studies knew well for all studies of Jacob of Syriac. Well, as was written in the program, this paper I prepared together with my husband, Dominique Briquel. In fact, it's my name, Châtelet, and Briquel is. Well, he is not at all a specialist of Syriac, but in fact, he prepared 2 papers for this conference, and unfortunately, he couldn't come. Well, that is, we're speaking about different things. We had a sort of discussion about this question of gay marriages in Iran and the Syriac point of view. And as he is one of his fields of research outside the ancient history of Rome is Indo-European mythology, we thought it would be nice to prepare together a paper. And that we made. I regret very much that he couldn't come, but that's the reason why I'm on a field I'm not especially dealing with generally. And I hope you will excuse my English, the text and the accent, because, well, I'm not that at ease with writing and speaking English. Prohibition of incest seems to have been set as a rule all over the world. Ethnographical and anthropological researches have shown that all human cultures have norms that exclude some close relatives from the categories of persons who are suitable or permissible marriage or sexual partners, so that it can appear as a general characteristic of human societies. As was stated by Robin Fox, primary kin do not pay to each other. And if we follow the analysis of Claude Lévi-Strauss in his famous book Essai sur les structures de la parenté, published in 1948, we can consider that no real human society can ever exist without it. Human groups have to communicate, and none of them can function without matrimonial exchanges. The reason is not simply medical, as it was thought in the 19th century, due to the risks of degeneration through consanguinity, which should be provoked by successive weddings inside the same family group. But the very nature of human societies shows that it is impossible for human groups to live without any exchange with the others. No human group can produce everything it needs. No human group can be secure without ensuring a minimum of good relations with the other ones. Human groups, even the tiniest ones, cannot live completely alone. And exchanges are therefore necessary if they want to live in peaceful conditions, which is the only way of providing a safe future for them. We can quote Lévi-Strauss: men have understood very early that to prevent from a wide struggle for their existence, they have to choose between possibilities, either marry outside or be exterminated by foreigners. Thus, in establishing the basis for the perpetuation of the society, that is putting in sexual relations men and women who will perpetuate the lineage and give birth to a new generation of humans, the female element has to be searched outside each elementary group, outside the family. Matrimonial rules may differ, and it can be broadly distinguished between societies with restricted exchange, in which a man of A group has to marry a woman of B group, and a man of B group, a woman of C group, and so on. And it's generalized or free exchange, in which every man can marry a woman of all other groups other than his own. But it is always prohibited to get a woman of its own group, at least one's own family, in the most limited sense, that is one's own mother or sister. So it's strictly prohibited to marry one's closest relatives. For instance, a brother for a brother, his sister. Such a taboo exists even in societies without the usual structure father, mother, children. Societies in which there is no permanent relationship between a woman and the man who begets her children. In such cases, the male element who takes care of the woman and the children and protects them is her brother, and his role requests that he has no sexual intercourse with her. And the importance of this prohibition is not dismissed by the fact that in several societies, certain persons usually marry inside the closest familial group, brothers, my sisters, as in Ptolemaic Egypt. This kind of union is always allowed only for members of royal family. And it's a way to show that they are different from other people, that they are like gods. So, if we consider Greek mythology, they repeat the model of Zeus and his sister and wife Hera. In such case, the exception proves the rule. Even if brother-sister marriages are practiced by the elites, for ordinary people, incest still applies. And at least, parent-child unions seem to be universally taboo. In fact, what is the most striking is that the promotion of kin marriage in Sasanian society, the Svigoda, has been really effective and not only a theoretical idea. So it's very different from everything we find everywhere. And among the most suggestive sources of knowledge relative to this custom in the Zoroastrian religion, in the Sasanian era, is the most unanimous condemnation of it in the Syriac literature. This aspect has been emphasized in different publications and especially recently. In fact, even if Herodotus, in Book 3:31, or writers of the Alexandrian era already give testimonies of this practice, it is mainly known in the centuries just before the Arabo-Islamic conquest from a large panel of sources. Allusions to this practice are numerous, beginning with Bardaksan. The only personal cases known are mentioned in hagiographical literature, Acts of Persian Martyrs, as in the Acts of Adu Hormizd, which even mentions the Iranian word as kutu duyo. Mentioned found also in the Acts of Agaid. But the custom is also mentioned in the cause of the foundation of schools. Condemnation took an official aspect in the canonical literature, and first in the Acts of the Synod of Marhaba in 544 AD, when giving the ideal view of a Christian union, speaking about bigamy or divorce, to pretexts are stressed going to the perversion of marriage, or a illegitimate importance put on external beauty, what we would call sex appeal, or economic reasons, search for wealth. It goes on. For these two motives, some, and here I quote, for these two motives, so beauty or economy, some even dared to approach the wife of their father, or the wife of their uncle, brother of their mother, or of their aunt, sister of their father, or their aunt, sister of their mother, or of their sister, or of their daughter-in-law, or of their daughter, or the daughter of their wife, or the daughter of their son, or the daughter of their daughter, or the granddaughter of their wife, like Maggie. Curiously, a parallel is then stressed with the Jewish system of levirate, and with the union with the pagan wife as do infidels. It has to be noted that union between brother and sister or mother and son is not mentioned. The text allows some months, at most 1 year, to solve the problem for the converts who were in these situations, find the correct solution for everyone, and act a separation. The same condemnation, with almost the same words, is to be found in the canons of the Synod of Ishoya I in 585 AD, with the only difference that marriage inside close kinship is attributed not specifically to Maggie, that is those Zoroastrians, but to Baha'i, outsiders of Christian religions. The parallel with Jewish levirate as a practical solution put forward to have time to solve personal situations and problems show that it was no theoretical condemnation, but that these canons were written about real cases stemming from both groups of converts who were trying to keep what they could even after becoming Christians, of what was their Christian identity. Therefore, the complete lack of this incest study in ancient Iran is in these sources well attested, and it is very surprising. And such behavior, arranging marriage inside a nuclear family, not only for certain persons, as a sign of their sexual position for anti-society, has understandably been considered as one of the most striking features of Zoroastrianism, which is recommended so under the name of Medoda. It has often been considered as fundamental in ancient Iran from a pure social and economic point of view. And that is what was said in the Act of Council, the interpretation given. And conceived as a mean of members of the upper classes, or at least all those who got property at their disposal, to maintain the belongings within the family, Iranian to die, without risking it to reap to another familial group. But one should not neglect the properly religious background of this custom. We cannot only denounce it in a kind of mechanical Marxist explanation as a stratagem invented by property owners to maintain their wealth. In a Zoroastrian perspective, there were essential religious grounds to justify marriages inside the closest kinship and even recommend it. The principle is clearly expressed in Zoroastrian text. One can read in Descartes, 380, a 9th century encyclopedia of Iranian religious tradition, and here I quote, "The three kinds of union, that of a father and his daughter, that of a son and his mother, that of a brother and his sister, are those that I most appreciate." End of quotation. Among these three different forms of close kinship, sexual relations, the one between mother and child, which is perhaps the most disturbing for our idea. We only have to think of the case of Hippolytus and Phaedra. And even Phaedra is not Hippolytus' mother, but only stepmother. So this kind of union appears in Iranian perspective as the best one. A parliament text, edited by Alan Williams and quoted by Audrey Tazurian, states that, and I quote, "This is also revealed that if a man practices one Zweguda with his mother and one with his child, his daughter, the one with his mother is superior to the other." As it can be seen, incestuous union were not only allowed but suffered no rejection, but are recommended as beneficial, as an act of piety. A very important aspect in Zoroastrian context, the donor participates into the great struggle between good and evil, God and demon, Ahura Mazda and Ahriman. It has a magic power which is able to make the demons, the deaths of Iranian mythology, disappear, to kill the evil. As a consequence of its apparently abnormal character, in accordance with the process of inversion, which often appears in magical practices, it gains a positive value and destroys negative elements of the world. Therefore, in a world which is a constant battlefield between good and evil forces, incestuous unions have to be widespread as much as possible. They have to be recommended for every worshipper of the true faith. But why does incest gain such a power, such a positive value in Zoroastrianism? One has to consider Iranian mythology, cosmology, even cosmogony. The successive stages of the acts of creation, as achieved by Ahura Mazda, displays different kinds of incest. Jean Kellens stresses the fact that what is called Mazdian anthropogony is founded on the series of the three modes of Svegoda. The Iranian primeval man, the first mortal, Gayomart, was procreated through the union of Ahura Mazda with the earth, the Amasa Spenta Almighty, who can be considered as born from him. Then he gives birth to a couple of twins, a male of a woman and a female, Massia and Massian, through his union with his mother, the earth. When Gayomart was slain by Ahriman, with the attempt of worldwide destruction he withstood, his seed, falling on the ground, fertilized the earth, and 40 years later, a plant shot up, splitting into Massia and Massier. The twin brother and sister, in turn, have children. Among them, Vinamwant, whose son will be the first king of Lima. And these children will make further life, make further life of mankind possible. So incest is necessary to the very existence of mankind. It has a cosmogonic value. When having incestuous relations with their partners, as it was done in primordial times, men drop in cosmogony, renew what was done in the beginning, give a fresh force to the world. At the same time, if humans reproduce the behavior which was once permitted the world to come into being, against the power of evil and destructions, they take part in the process which will end with the final disappearance of bad forces. Incest has an eschatological value too. So, Shadada puts mankind in direct relations to God, gives to the humans a role in the cosmological process, which once began with the creation and will end with the final victory of God against evil. Thus, it can tear man free from its contingent limitations, of its mortal condition, subject to pain, illness, and death, and prepare the times of happiness which will succeed in its present condition. We saw that canonical literature only saw psychological and economical reasons for this practice, but its cosmologic value has been seen by some Syriac authors as the author of the Cave of Treasures, as has been stressed by Sabelina. The author of this text, when looking from the origin of the custom of Sredoda, turns upside down its role in the strife between good and evil. Impressed by the science of Nimrod, one man called Ardashir turns to the demons to ask for all this knowledge. And the demons persuade him that it is necessary to become a mage, that is to perform Iranian religious rites and meditate the order of the world, to have this Sredoda. That it was practiced at the origin of mankind is acknowledged and recognized, for example, by Theodore Barconi in the second Memoir. Adam and Eve, and then their children had no other choice. And I cite Theodore Barconi. Where can we think that Seth and Cain took wives? It's evident that they took their sisters, because they had no written law, and even if they were bothered by any sort of natural inhibition, they could not do anything else, because it was the beginning of the world. But after the multiplication of their stem, it was forbidden to them, even if the scripture does not say anything about that, because it was not necessary. Close-kin marriage in the same generation was recognized necessary as the origin of mankind in the Syriac milieu. So it has also, in this milieu, a sort of cosmogonic value at the origin of the world. However, a particular point should be noted, which clearly underlies the quasi-divine status that incest provides to the one who practices it in Iranian views. For us, the strangest form, and we already said it, of Sredoda, is surely the one between mother and child, which is much more in common, and may appear much more scandalous than the one between two siblings, or even father and daughter. But as also incest between father and daughter does, incest between mother and son provokes a mixing of two generations, that of parents and that of children. As Malinowski wrote, incest means deleting age distinctions, mixing successive generations. So it becomes impossible to distinguish different stages of human history. Generations intermingle and time is abolished. One can consider, as Malinowski did, that it has disastrous effects. But this kind of incest, in some sense, mind destroys mortality and gains eternity. Its nature of short-lived being, condemned to be restricted to only one generation, has changed. It jumps over generations and becomes more like gods. In the case of Iranian society, as justified by Zoroastrian concepts, in spite of the absolute isolation of such behavior among human cultures, incest, and especially that between parents and children, was granted a very clear positive significance. Of course, it could hardly be understood and accepted by followers of other religions like Christian, Jews, or Muslims. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Chatterjee. We have 2 or 3 minutes for questions. No questions?
In fact, if it is on Zoroastrian religion, I am not able to go to
Das ist ein Example that one of the Syrian kings practiced veto Das exists an example that one of the Syrian kings practiced veto dati. Kin marriage.
In America, it exists.
Does any of the Syrian kings
as far as I know, it's only in Ireland that there's this practice.
First, this is interesting for people in Kerala because there is a huge community of Nayars in Kerala where king's marriage is, and many other Hindu communities where king's marriage is very popular. And not only that, the Nayar women are having what is called sambandham. They are in relation with many men. So they do not know who the father of the child is. This is common in Kerala. Now, my question is, how far this Zoroastrian or the early royal Egyptian custom of marrying the brother, sister, how far such a system has entered the Christian world? How far? Because you said something about the history. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can find examples. The question is whether the society allows it or not. But afterwards, even if it's not allowed by society, you always have people to do it. As far as Kerala, I don't know if, but perhaps you can allow me, if it has been, at the moment, allowed or not. I don't know. One of the points I stressed is this is very different in Egypt than in Iran and old Iranian society. In Egypt, it was clearly conceived as an exception. So the exception that confirms the rule. And in Iran, the rule, the ideal view of every marriage was this. And that is what was very exceptional. But, well, as far as India, I don't know if there is an example of this promotion of kin marriage in the society.
Yes, thank you very much. The time is over. I'm very sorry you have to